Hello, dear sleepy listener, wherever you are, whether it's evening in the city or midnight in a quiet village or early morning on the edge of the world, I'm glad you've joined us here. Time has moved around you all day. It hummed in traffic lights, in footsteps, in pages turning. But now you've slowed. Now it's quiet enough to hear something more delicate, something softer than time itself. Tonight, we'll drift together into a question that lives between thoughts. Does the past really go away, or does it rest, like breath on glass, only waiting for silence to return before you drift off to sleep peacefully? Take a moment to like this video. Leave a gentle comment about your favourite science moment, and subscribe to continue receiving these bedtime stories. And if you feel like sharing, tell us where you're listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. Now turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let your curiosity drift among the stars. You're lying down now, blanketed by darkness, but not an empty darkness. A darkness that feels full, like the inside of a shell that once carried music. And in this stillness, a quiet question rises. Where did today go? You felt it. You lived it. You watched the sky change colour. You tasted moments that won't come back again. But where did it all go? Is it gone? Evaporated, folded into nothing? Or does something remain? You don't need to answer that. You don't need to try. Just breathe in soft and slow. Let your chest rise like a memory surfacing from deep water, and exhale like a thought returning home. There are places in the world that feel like they still hold time. A long-abandoned theatre where sunlight presses through broken windows. A childhood room with the smell of paper and dust. A handwritten note found inside the sleeve of an old coat. You step into these places, and you feel something. Not just history, not just nostalgia, something present, as if time doesn't quite leave, as if it simply waits, like a whisper behind a curtain, like the heat left in a seat after someone has risen. It's easy to believe time moves forward, that the past is left behind. But maybe that's not entirely true. Some physicists speak of a concept called the block universe, a vision of time where every moment past, present, and future exists together, not as a river, but as a vast frozen tapestry, like a loaf of bread already baked, where each slice is a moment in time. You're not watching the loaf being baked, you're moving through the slices, one by one. Let that image rest gently in your mind. You don't need to believe it. You don't need to decide if it's true. Just allow it to sit beside you like an old book left open on a table. If every moment exists, not just the one you're in, then where is yesterday? It may not be reachable. Not by walking, not by machines, but it may still be there. Like a light you can no longer see, but that never stopped glowing on the other side of a wall. Maybe you can't touch it, but maybe it still breathes somewhere in the shadows of what you call now. After all, the atoms that made up today didn't vanish. They shifted, they rearranged. They became tomorrow before you even noticed. And maybe that's how time moves, not by erasing, but by transforming. Just as you don't lose your breath when you exhale, you simply give it to the air. Maybe you don't lose your days. Maybe they just change shape. And perhaps the past lingers in the corners of the present like music humming after the final note. Take one more breath now. Let it be slow. Let it be warm. The past doesn't ask to be chased. It doesn't beg to be remembered. It simply drifts quietly like the scent of something baking in a house you once lived in. And tonight, as you begin this journey, you are not going back in time. You're only sitting beside it, gently, softly, like a shadow that doesn't speak but remembers everything. There's a room in your memory, isn't there? Maybe it's quiet, maybe it's dim, maybe the walls are bare, or maybe there are shapes on the floor cast by something just out of sight. You walk into that room, not to find anything in particular, just to feel what's still there. And there, on the wall, you notice a shadow. It doesn't move, it doesn't call your name, but something about it feels familiar, not in its shape, but in its presence. Close your eyes again now. If they've wandered open, let them grow heavy like curtains at dusk. There's nothing to see, only the soft suggestion of something resting behind the light. We're taught that shadows are the absence of light, that they're blank, empty, nothing more than a lack of what is shining. But is that all they are? What if shadows are not empty, but echoes? What if they carry some trace of the thing that blocked the light? A story, a silhouette, a memory held in silhouette. Imagine for a moment the shadow of a tree falling on the side of a house in late afternoon. That shadow tells you something, not everything but enough. It tells you there is a tree, that the sun is still up, that somewhere wind may be moving the leaves. You cannot see the tree directly, but its shape, its past, has touched the present and left a trace. Let your breath follow that idea. Inhale, as if you're drawing in light. Exhale, as if you're releasing the shadow it leaves behind. Even in physics, we're surrounded by traces, not just particles, but the paths they've carved. In a cloud chamber, for example, scientists don't see the particle itself. They see its wake, the foggy curl it leaves behind as it slips through vapour, like the trail of a finger across a mirror, or the dent in a pillow where someone once rested their head. Shadows may be that kind of trace, not nothing but what remains when light has passed and something stood in its way. And so, a shadow becomes a witness, not to what is, but to what was. And if you look closely, gently, it begins to feel like the past still whispers just outside the spotlight. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to hold it. Just rest here a moment and listen. There's a kind of light called afterglow. You see it when the sun slips just below the horizon, but the sky still holds a memory of brightness. That light isn't coming from the sun directly. It's light scattered and softened, delayed by atmosphere, lingering just long enough for your eyes to say goodbye. And that, too, is a shadow's twin, where one is a softened absence, the other is a lingering presence. Together, they form the quiet perimeter of every moment. Light leaves a shadow. Light leaves an afterglow. Both are reminders that time does not vanish. It trails, like a comet, like a sigh, like the way you can still hear someone's laughter even after they've left the room. You might think the past disappears, but perhaps it simply steps aside, lets the light move forward, lets the present unfold, and yet, beneath your feet, on the wall, behind your thoughts, a trace remains, a softness, a silhouette, not in darkness, but in what darkness remembers. Let yourself sink into that now. Let your hands unclench. Let your eyes, your cheeks, your breath settle gently back into stillness. You don't need to define anything here. You don't need to explain. Just notice the shape of things that are no longer in the light and how they still linger in a language you don't have to speak to understand. There is more in a shadow than the world tells you. There is memory, there is shape, there is the past, folded quietly into the soft edge of now. Imagine a single beam of light, not dazzling, not blinding, just a quiet, golden thread floating through the dark. Now imagine that light left a star 1,000 years ago, and it's been travelling ever since. Not in circles, not in spirals, just forward, a straight line, no footsteps, no breath, just speed, the speed of light. Let your body soften now, as if it too is gliding without resistance. You don't need to move quickly. You don't need to follow. Just float while light does what light has always done. That photon, that little packet of light, might pass through a cloud. It might bounce off the surface of a moon, or it might touch a wall in your bedroom, a book, a pillow, the softness of your hand, and then in less than a blink it's gone, absorbed, reflected, changed. But here's the quiet wonder. That moment, the moment the photon touched something, has a consequence. A shadow may be cast, a warmth may linger, a colour may be seen, a camera sensor may capture it, and in that interaction, light becomes memory, not in the way a photograph holds a face, but in the way the universe remembers its own touch. Let your thoughts slow now. You don't need to trace every beam. You don't need to catch each flicker. Just rest. And know that everything light has touched leaves behind a kind of signature, a whisper, an imprint, a quiet yes. There is something in physics called light echoes. It happens when light from a bright event like a supernova bounces off dust clouds and reaches us long after the main event has passed, like hearing a voice in a canyon long after the speaker is gone. It's not the original sound. It's the memory of sound. That's what light can do. It doesn't just illuminate, it echoes, sometimes years later, sometimes centuries. And this echo tells us not only that something happened, but where, and how far, and when. The past shining into the present. This is how we know what the universe used to be. Not by returning to the past, but by letting its light catch up with us. Galaxies that died millions of years ago still fill our skies with colour. Not because they're alive, but because their light hasn't finished arriving. In a sense, light is time's postcard, mailed long ago, delivered now. And if you look at the stars, you're not looking at the sky as it is. You're looking at how it was. Every point of starlight is the past still visible, still shimmering, still reminding us that time does not leave cleanly. Let that soften your breath. Let it slow your pulse. You don't have to chase the past. You only have to see that it may still be shining, right there, right now. You're surrounded by the ghosts of a light that touched things long ago. The glow of a candle held in the hands of someone you never met. The last flash of a dying star that never saw what it became. Even the photons that once reflected from your own face as a child may still be travelling. Somewhere, far away, still carrying the shape of your smile. Isn't that strange and kind and impossibly beautiful? You don't need to understand all the math. You don't need to imagine every beam. Just know this light remembers what it touched. And sometimes the past lingers not in your mind, but in the movement of things still travelling. So if you feel something that seems too distant to name a warmth, a flicker, a presence, perhaps it's just a bit of light catching up. There's a path beneath your feet now. You don't remember how you got here. Maybe it was a dream, maybe a memory, or maybe it's one of those places that lives just on the edge of both. The ground is soft, a carpet of pine needles, old leaves, bits of time that once fluttered down from the canopy above and never quite left. You take a step, then another. There's no sound but your breath, and the slight hush of the world making room for your presence. Close your eyes if they're open, or let them relax further if they've already begun to drift. There's nothing to see here except what your body remembers as it moves quietly through the now. Every place holds a history, not in books, but in texture, in the bend of a tree limb, in the scar on a stone, in the dip of soil where footsteps once fell. And some part of you knows, even if you can't name it, that someone else walked this path long before. Maybe a century ago, maybe last week. But the trees remember, they've grown around the memory, they've stretched towards sunlight in shapes that echo where shadows once stood still. And the forest floor, though it shows no footprints, feels different because of what passed here. Some scientists might say those footsteps are gone. The pressure of feet, the weight of movement, the slight compaction of soil. Over time, rain softens it, wind stirs it, moss grows over it, the evidence dissolves. But is it truly lost? In soil science, there's a field called bioturbation. It studies how organisms, earthworms, roots, insects slowly shift and mix the ground. Every footprint, every paw print, every step of hoof or boot is gradually erased by the quiet persistence of life. And yet, layers remain, fossils beneath stone, strata of pollen and ash deep in the ground, a record of footsteps so old they can no longer be read but not completely gone. Sometimes archaeologists find the imprint of bare feet pressed into clay from 20,000 years ago. Perfect, soft, preserved by accident, like a secret the earth decided was too beautiful to forget. Let that sink in now. You don't need to remember everything. Just breathe and feel the strange comfort of knowing that time sometimes chooses what to keep. You walk a little further down the path. Nothing changes, and yet everything feels full, as though every step you take forward echoes backward too, each footfall a ripple, softly brushing the edge of everything that came before. You're not retracing anyone's journey, but you are walking alongside ghosts, not haunting ones, just the gentle kind that once paused in this very space and left behind something you can't quite see but still feel. That, too, is a kind of shadow, not of light, but of presence. And maybe those kinds of shadows never fade completely. Maybe they settle into the texture of place, like the way a favourite chair learns your shape, or how the air changes after someone you love leaves the room. So what if the past is not a timeline? What if it's terrain, not flat, not distant, but layered, soft, full of memory you can't see, but sometimes step into without realizing? You don't need to chase the steps. You don't need to find their source. Just feel the way the path bends, the way the light shifts, the way the air seems to hold something more than just air. The past isn't waiting to be revisited, but sometimes, when you're quiet enough, it lets you walk beside it. Let your breath deepen again. Let your muscles grow heavier. You don't need to go further down the path. You've already arrived in a moment woven from 1,000 others, and the footsteps that vanish, maybe they never vanished at all. Maybe they just learned to whisper. You're indoors now, or somewhere that feels like it. A space with still air, wooden silence, and a window that lets in morning light like a secret. The room isn't crowded. It isn't empty, either. It's filled with softness, familiar objects, forgotten ones, and something else. You blink, slowly, and then you see it. Not the light, but what dances in it. Dust. Tiny motes suspended in golden air, floating, tumbling, glowing, like stars caught in a beam that only you can see. Let your breath fall into that rhythm, not deep, not shallow, just quiet. You don't need to understand what you're looking at. Just watch, as if every particle has a memory attached to it. Because maybe it does. Dust is older than it looks. It's not just dirt, not just debris. It's history made small enough to float. Skin cells, threads of cloth, ash from distant fires, spores, pollen, crumbs of old pages, tiny fragments of stone worn down by time and made into air. Some of the dust in the room with you may have drifted in from beyond your home, your town, even your time. Some of it is cosmic. Yes, truly. Particles from meteorites float through the atmosphere. They fall gently, invisibly, every day. You've breathed some in. You've brushed some away. You've seen it caught in sunbeams and never guessed you were looking at pieces of a different century. Let that rest softly inside you. You don't need to believe all of it. Just let the idea settle, like the dust itself. The past doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes it drifts in quietly. There's a kind of science called palynology, the study of dust, pollen, and the tiniest fragments that settle into the layers of time. By examining layers of sediment, scientists can read the past the way a poet reads silence. They can see when volcanoes erupted, when forest bloomed, when fires burned and rained their ghosts down on stone. Even pollen has its fingerprint. You can look at dust and know what kind of trees once shaded a valley. You can read the history of wind, and you can learn that even something as small as a speck carries the signature of a season long gone. The past, it seems, likes to fragment itself, not into pages but into particles, and sometimes what it leaves behind isn't just the obvious. It's the breath of a story you didn't know was being told. You sit in a room, sunlight drifting in, and what touches your eyelashes, what catches the curve of your cheek, might be the softened trace of something that lived 1,000 miles away and years before your first breath. Dust is the past made gentle. It doesn't knock. It doesn't cry out. It just settles and waits to be noticed. Breathe in now, softly. Don't worry, you're not breathing in history in a way that burdens you. You're simply sharing space with it. And the fact that it's still here, floating, resting, glowing in sunlight, means that not everything disappears. Some things fall apart in ways that let them linger. Some moments choose to remain as fragments rather than vanish. And the universe lets them. You don't need to dust this moment off. You don't need to clean it up. Let it be a little messy. Let it shimmer with memory. Let it swirl around you like a galaxy seen through a sunbeam. You are not separate from it. You're breathing it. You're resting in it. You are part of the slow, patient layering of now, and maybe someday a single mote of you, a whisper of your warmth, a thread of your breath will float into someone else's light, and they'll wonder what it meant. Let your body grow heavier. Let your thoughts settle. You're not alone in time. You're surrounded by the smallest pieces of all that came before, and they're not here to remind you of what's lost. They're here to say, softly I was here, and in some way, so are you. You're floating now, not in air, not in water, but in something even softer. Space. Not the kind above your roof, not the black sky full of stars, but the space between everything, the quiet, glowing backdrop of existence itself. It's colder here, not in temperature, but in memory. This is where the past lives without needing to speak. Close your eyes again if they've opened, or sink into their darkness like a blanket still warm from someone who left a moment ago. There's nothing to hold here, only to feel. And what you're feeling is the light from the very beginning. Not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. Because the universe, this one we're all drifting in, still carries a photograph of its first second. A light that hasn't gone out, a glow that hasn't dimmed. It's called the cosmic microwave background. You don't need to memorize that name. Just let the idea float. This faint radiation, spread in every direction, is the oldest light we can see. It was born about 380,000 years after the Big Bang. Back then, the universe was thick, a hot soup of particles too dense for light to move through freely. But as it expanded, it cooled, and for the first time, light was able to travel. And it did. It still does. That light has been moving outward for over 13 billion years. And it's still here, not in one place but everywhere. A gentle whisper of how things once were. Let that settle in your chest for a moment. You don't need to picture the numbers. You don't need to feel the scale. Just breathe, as if you're inhaling an ancient starlight that took its time arriving. Because in a way you are. That glow, the cosmic microwave background, isn't something we look at in one direction. It surrounds us. It holds us. Like a faded photograph pressed against the inside of a music box. Delicate, but undeniable. In the 1960s, two scientists, Anna Penzias and Robert Wilson, accidentally discovered it. They were working on an antenna, trying to remove noise from their signal, but no matter what they did, the hiss remained. They cleaned the wires, they removed bird droppings from the dish, they double-checked every setting. Still, the noise. Until they realized it wasn't noise at all. It was the universe itself, still humming from its own creation. A photograph so old you couldn't see the subject, but you could feel the light. This discovery changed everything, because it meant that the universe keeps records, not just of stars or atoms or gravity, but of light. And light doesn't lie. It just travels. And sometimes it takes billions of years to tell you the truth. So when you ask, does the past still exist? Maybe the universe would answer, yes, and it never left. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to see it with your eyes. Just know that above you and below, and all around, the softest memory still glows. Let your breath move slowly again, like radiation expanding across space too large to imagine. There's nothing chasing you, nothing left to escape. The past is not trying to catch up. It already surrounds you, and not as regret, not as weight, but as light, the kind that lingers, even when the source has long since gone quiet. This glow, this background isn't loud. You can't feel it on your skin, you can't taste it in the air, but it's in every direction, and its temperature, just 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. So faint, so patient, so eternal. It is the afterglow of the very first moment the universe could remember itself, and it never stopped. You are living in a universe that carries its childhood on its skin. So let yourself rest now. You don't need to travel far to touch the past. It's already here, wrapped around you like the softest light you never knew you were breathing. And it asks nothing from you, just stillness, just breath, just the quiet acknowledgement that some memories are written into the sky itself. There is a mirror in front of you, or perhaps not in front, perhaps beside you, perhaps inside a memory. The kind of mirror that doesn't need silver glass to reflect something real. You tilt your head slightly. You notice your own face familiar, but always just a little unexpected. And in that brief stillness, you wonder, how long has this face been changing? How many versions of you have passed through this reflection without staying? Let your shoulders soften. You don't need to recognize yourself perfectly. Let your eyes gently close, as if even mirrors can rest when no one's watching. We think of mirrors as honest, cold, accurate, faithful, but are they? The image you see isn't quite what others see. It's flipped, reversed, familiar only to you because you've met it in bathrooms, windows, pools of still water. The person you see has only ever existed from that angle. The version of you that others know is a stranger to the one who stares back at you. You can't see your own eyes the way someone else can, and they can't feel what's moving behind them. You don't need to resolve that. Just breathe. Let the paradox settle into your breath, like a soft question with no urgency to be answered. Mirrors are moments. Each reflection lasts only as long as the gaze does, and when you walk away, what remains? Nothing. We say. The image vanishes, but maybe every reflection leaves a trace, not in the glass but in you. Maybe each time you pause and see yourself as you are, as you were, as you hope to be, the moment leaves a mark beneath your skin. Maybe your body remembers the versions of you who paused for just a second longer and thought, who is that? Where did they go? And who have I become since? Light moves quickly, and reflections are born from its return. It bounces off your skin, off your hair, into the mirror, and back to your eye in less than a blink. That journey takes microseconds, but the feeling of it, the recognition, the ripple can last a lifetime, even longer. There are mirrors in antique stores, in dusty attics, in old houses no one lives in anymore, and they've seen faces you'll never know. People who once paused in joy, in sorrow, in tiredness, and met themselves before stepping back into the world. And though the reflection is gone, the light that made it once moved across that room. Somewhere, perhaps, a photon from that moment still travels outward, carrying the imprint of a gaze long forgotten. This is not science fiction. It is simply how light behaves. It does not stop. It does not dissolve. It continues. We say the moment is over, but the light from it may still be travelling through space, through air, through someone else's window millions of years from now. You don't have to imagine it clearly. Just rest with the thought every time you've looked in a mirror. You've sent a silent message into the world, a flicker, a reflection, a soft record of your presence. And the past may be filled with reflections that have outlived the person who stared. Let your breath move again. Let your fingers rest. There's no need to look at yourself now. The mirror isn't calling. It's only waiting like it always has quietly for light to return. Just as the past waits. Not with expectation. Not to pull you back. But to offer you a brief glimpse of who you once were. And to remind you that even moments you only glanced at, even versions of you that blinked and disappeared, still shimmer somewhere in the quiet behind the glass. You're lying under the stars now, not in a busy sky, not in a planetarium, but in the kind of silence that stretches longer than thought, the kind of silence you feel more than hear. The night above you is full, stars scattered like sand across black water, some bright, some shy, some barely there, but all of them watching without watching you back. You don't need to name the constellations. Let your body grow heavier. Let your eyes soften, even if they're closed already. This sky isn't for finding, it's for floating in. When you look at the stars, you're not seeing the present, you are seeing the past. Each point of light, each tiny flicker left its source long before it arrived at your eye. The closest stars sent their light years ago, others thousands, millions, some even longer. So when you gaze upward, you're watching a sky that no longer exists, and some of those stars, those patient twinkling dots, may have already gone dark. They have died, collapsed, vanished into silence. But their light, their final glow is still travelling, still moving through space with no urgency and no regret. You're not seeing them as they are. You're seeing them as they were. Let that rest gently against your ribs. Let your breath follow its rhythm. You don't need to chase the light. You're already receiving it just as it meant to arrive. There's something called the light year, a measure not of time, but of distance through time. It's how far light travels in a year, and the stars you see are separated from you by countless light years, meaning their images come from the past. Some stars are so far that their final light won't reach us for millennia. We'll see them, not knowing we're watching the ghost of something already gone. The past, in this way, is not behind you, it's above you, all around you, arriving slowly, patiently, invisible until the very last moment. Isn't it strange you can't return to yesterday? But the stars, they bring yesterday to you. They place it gently in your vision without asking for anything in return. No story, no explanation, just light softening through distance. You can lie there forever and still not catch up. Still not touch the star that gave that light. Because the past can be seen but never entered. Like a ship passing just beneath the surface of frozen water. So close, so clear, so untouchable. And yet, it touches you. Not physically, not in words, but in the way your body slows beneath that ancient light, in the way your chest opens when you realize how far something had to travel just to greet you here. Even stars that are gone still offer their warmth, still shine, still say I was here, and now you know it. Let your breath fall with that. You don't need to understand the universe. You don't need to count the stars. You are made of their dust. That is enough. There's a phrase some astronomers use, look back time. It's how far into the past we see when we look at distant galaxies. The farther you look, the older the image, and in that way, the telescope becomes a time machine, but not one you can step into, only one you can see through. You lie beneath that same sky now, not peering through glass, but through wonder. Your own eyes are enough. They are windows into ages that passed long before your name was spoken. And still these ages arrive tonight, to remind you that the past doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it glows. Sometimes it stretches across silence to be seen one last time. Let your eyes close now, or stay closed, if they've already slipped away. Let your body feel what light cannot touch. Let your thoughts loosen, like threads in a sweater you no longer need to wear. The stars are not asking to be solved. They are only arriving, and their past is resting gently on the surface of your sleep. You're no longer lying beneath the stars. Now, you're lying beneath your own thoughts. Your body hasn't moved, but something has shifted inward. The light is dimmer here, not darker, just softer, like breath behind a curtain. And within this gentle darkness, something stirs. Not noise, not words, but memory. Or maybe not memory exactly, but the feeling of something familiar rising up like a scent you can't name. Close your eyes again, or close them further. You don't need to search for the past. It's already pressing softly against the edge of your mind, and it might be waiting to become a dream. Every night, as you fall into sleep, your brain begins to rearrange itself. Thoughts drift apart, then reweave. Images flutter. Old faces return without knocking. You're not choosing this. You're not directing it. You're simply watching as your mind remembers itself. Your hippocampus, a small structure deep inside your brain, is busy. It replays experiences, sifts them, decides which ones to keep. Neurons fire in patterns that mimic what you lived, or what you feared, or what you longed for, and from that gentle storm, a dream begins. You don't have to understand how it works. Just rest in the feeling that even when you're sleeping, you are processing what it meant to be you the day before. Some researchers believe that dreaming is a kind of overnight therapy. Your brain takes the sharpness of waking life and smooths it. It softens the edges, tries it on again, lets you experience things without consequence, and sometimes within that safety. The past slips in, a hallway from childhood, a voice you haven't heard in years, the warmth of a hand that once held yours but no longer can, and it's not always a perfect memory. Dreams don't obey time. They blend years, moods, faces. They don't repeat the past. They reinterpret it. And in that way, the past never quite disappears. It becomes a language your sleeping mind still speaks. Let yourself drift with that. You don't have to remember your dreams. You don't have to make sense of them. Just know that part of you is still talking to yesterday. Not to stay there, not to get lost, but to understand, to heal, to fold it into something you can carry without feeling the weight. This is the quiet work of sleep, not rest, not forgetting, but remembering gently, and then letting go. There's something called memory consolidation. It's the process your brain uses to turn short-term experience into long-term understanding. And it happens mostly while you sleep. Your neurons reactivate the same patterns you lived during the day. But instead of reliving it, you're filing it, storing it, organizing it in a way you may never know. But that shapes how you wake, and sometimes a moment long forgotten rises to the surface not in words, but in feeling. You wake with a sense of something distant, a dream you can't explain, a name on the tip of your soul. That's not confusion. That's memory stirring gently in the soft folds of night. Let your breath deepen again. Let your thoughts soften. You don't have to recall anything. You don't have to make it clear. Your brain is already doing the work, even now, even here. Dreams are where the past sometimes asks to be seen not as it was, but as it is now. Beneath the surface, they are where memory breathes, where emotion settles, where shadows move softly without needing to be chased. So if you feel something tonight, a flicker, a pull, a shape that doesn't have a name, don't be afraid. It might just be a part of you visiting the past, not to bring it back, but to make peace with it. To say you were here, you shaped me, and now I carry you as light, not weight. Let yourself fall now. Let yourself drift. You're in the safest of spaces, the quiet theatre of your own dreaming mind, and somewhere, between neurons and night, the past still breathes, and it's okay to breathe with it. Time isn't a straight road. It never has been. It doesn't stretch evenly. like string laid across a floor. It warps, it curves, it dips around mass and dances with motion. You're lying very still now, and yet you're being carried by the Earth, by the solar system, by the quiet river of space-time that holds you without ever touching your skin. Take a slow breath. Let your thoughts loosen. You don't need to understand space-time. You're already in it. Einstein once described space and time not as separate things, but as a single fabric, a smooth sheet that stretches in every direction. But it's not flat, not really. Place a heavy object on it, a planet, a star, a black hole, and the fabric dips. Other things roll toward it. Not because they're being pulled, but because they're following the curve. And that curve, that's gravity. Not as a force, but as the shape of space and time folding softly around mass. Let that image sit quietly beside you. You don't need to solve it. You don't need to see the math. Just imagine a blanket being pulled gently inward and the way marbles change direction as they pass. That's how time flows near heavy things, slower, deeper, and in that slow dance, moments can stretch, they can pause, they can leave behind a kind of echo. There's something called gravitational time dilation. It means that time moves more slowly the closer you are to something massive, near a black hole. A second for you might be hours, days, years for someone farther away. So imagine this. A moment happens close to gravity, a breath, a glance, a goodbye, and that moment unfolds slowly, softly, as though time itself were reluctant to let it pass. The deeper the gravity, the longer the memory lingers. Could that be where the past hides not erased, just stretched, still unfolding in a slower place? We don't know if the universe keeps a full record. We don't know if every second is written somewhere in the folds. But in physics, there's an idea that matter's causality. The idea that every moment is connected to another, that 1 second leads to the next in a line that cannot be broken. This makes the past part of the present, not separate, not lost, just woven underneath, like a backing to a tapestry you can't see, but that holds the shape of every thread. And if the fabric of time can bend, can stretch, can fold inward, then maybe some moments aren't gone. Maybe they are folded, pressed softly between layers of now, not visible, not reachable, but present. Like music you can no longer hear, but that still vibrates in the wood of the instrument. Or like a letter tucked deep in the spine of a book forgotten, but still there. Let yourself breathe again. You don't need to unfold the fabric. You don't need to chase the echo. Just lie quietly in the knowledge that time isn't linear. Not completely. It's textured, layered, curved, rich with places where the past might still hum like a bell whose sound hasn't fully faded. There are equations, models, theories, and there are mysteries. Even those equations can't quite explain. One of them why we experience time only in one direction, why we remember the past but not the future, why we move forward, always forward, as if the story only unfolds one way. No one knows for certain. Some think the past is still there, just inaccessible. Others say only the present is real, that the past is a dream our neurons keep alive for comfort. But others wonder if each moment still exists somewhere not dead, not lost, but folded, waiting, not to be re-entered, but to be acknowledged. You don't need to believe. You don't need to doubt. Just lie still. Let your thoughts slow to the pace of stars. Let your heartbeat match the rhythm of a space-time you cannot see, but that carries you like silk on an endless current. You're not falling behind. You're not chasing what has passed. You are part of a fabric that holds all things, even the ones you thought had slipped away. You're sitting with a photograph now, not necessarily one in your hands, maybe just one in your mind, something faded, curled at the edges, still carrying warmth from fingers that haven't touched it in years. In the photo, someone is smiling, someone you loved, or maybe someone you never met, but the image knows them. And for a moment, you don't look at the person. You look at the light, because that image, the way their eyes glint, the way the shadows wrap gently around their cheek, is not made from memory. It's made from light. Let your breath soften now. Inhale slowly, as if you're breathing in something long gone that's come back to visit. Exhale gently, as if you're letting it drift back into the quiet place it came from. Photons, tiny particles of light, don't have mass. They don't age. They don't rest. They are born when light is emitted, and they keep moving at the speed of light until they touch something and vanish. But before they disappear, they carry information. When a photon reflects off a face, then bounces into a camera lens, then strikes a piece of film or a digital sensor, it leaves a trace. Not of itself, but of what it touched. And that's what a photograph is. A record of where light has been. It's strange to think that the photo you hold contains none of the original light. The photons that made that moment are long gone. They scattered. Some were absorbed. Some may still be travelling on a quiet journey into the emptiness between stars. And yet, something remained. A pattern, a shape, an image built from the echo of light's brief encounter with a face. Let that idea settle over you now. You don't have to grasp it. Just rest beneath it, like sunlight falling through a window you didn't open. This is one of the strange beauties of physics light can leave, but its effects linger, sometimes in photographs, sometimes in memories, sometimes in the soft pattern of freckles on your skin from a summer 20 years ago. The photons are gone, but what they touched remembers, and not just in pictures, even in your eyes. Light leaves traces. When a photon hits your retina, it starts a chain reaction. Your brain interprets it into shape, colour, emotion, and though the light is gone, your mind still holds what it gave you. A moment, a glimpse, a story. There's a kind of photograph called a long exposure. You leave the shutter open for several seconds or minutes or even hours, and the camera collects light slowly, revealing things your eye could never see in an instant. Stars become arcs. Water turns to mist. People become ghosts, blurred by motion. What would your life look like in long exposure? What trails of light would appear in the quiet rooms of your memory? Maybe they wouldn't be sharp. Maybe they'd blur, but the glow would still be there. The record of your passing. The echo of photons that once knew your name. And here's something tender. When someone takes a picture of you, the light bouncing from your face is captured. That moment becomes a record not just of you, but of the light that touched you. That's why old photographs can make us cry. Not because we're sad, but because some part of us knows the light in that picture has moved on, and we are still here, looking back, not at the person, but at the echo of light. And sometimes the echo is more than enough. Let your breath ease now. Let your body feel still. You don't need to hold any photographs. You don't need to search for light. It's already found you. It found you long ago. It whispered across your face and vanished, but it left something behind. And perhaps that's what the past really is. Not a place, not a story, but a series of quiet encounters with light, each one brief, each one beautiful, each one persistent in its own quiet way. The photons that touched you don't return, but the world remembers in soft, scattered ways, in the glint of a smile in a framed photo, in the warmth left in a room after someone stepped away, in the stillness of this moment right now, where light continues to move all around you, carrying time and memory and quiet persistence. You're not chasing the past, you're lit by it, and that light is still enough to see by. You're still lying there, but something feels heavier now, not burdensome, not stiff, just rooted, like your breath knows it belongs to the earth, like your spine has been here longer than your story. You shift gently and notice how your body moves without asking permission. It just moves, like a branch caught in wind older than trees. Close your eyes if they've drifted open. Let your limbs sink again. You don't have to understand where your body has been. Just let it whisper what it remembers. Because somewhere, in the deep quiet of your cells, the past is still humming. Let's begin with a single part of you, a molecule. Carbon. Maybe. There is carbon in your skin, in your bones, in the breath you just let go. That carbon. It's not new. It didn't arrive the day you were born. It didn't appear when you felt joy, or sadness, or change. It's been here for millions of years, formed inside stars that lived, exploded, and scattered their guts into the emptiness. Those star remnants became dust. Dust became earth. Earth became food. And food became you. You're not just stardust. You're stardust that learned to breathe. And in your breath, in your blood, you carry the fossilized silence of time. Think about your bones. They hold you up. They carry you forward. But they also hold the quiet architecture of evolution. Your pelvis curves because your ancestors walked upright. Your fingers curl like the hands that once climbed trees. Your jaw bears the echoes of ancient diets and struggles. Every joint is a quiet history. Every vertebra a memory carved from survival. And every cell is not just a life, it is remembering. There is something called molecular memory. It's not memory like thoughts, not recollection like images, but it is history, written into structure, the shape of proteins, the twist of DNA, the rhythm of growth that your body follows without ever needing to ask why. And inside your DNA is a story far longer than your life. It includes creatures you'll never meet, languages no longer spoken, dreams never written down. But the memory is still there, folded into the double helix like lines in an ancient poem. You don't need to read it. You don't need to translate. You're already living its every line. Let that rest in you now. You don't need to feel small. You don't need to feel large. You're exactly the size of the universe's remembering, not a moment in time, but a container for its softest fossils. The kind that don't lie in stone, but in breath, in movement, in dreams. There's a type of fossil called a trace fossil. It's not made from the bones of a creature. It's made from what it left behind: a footprint, a burrow, a path worn into the earth, proof of presence, evidence of motion. You, too, leave trace fossils, not in rock, but in people, in places, in ideas, in the warmth you gave once, without realizing someone would carry it for the rest of their life. The past doesn't live only in you, you live in it, and it lives in what you leave behind. Even this moment, this slow breath, this quiet stillness may become a memory etched softly into someone else's world. So if you've ever wondered whether the past still exists, reach no further than your ribs. Touch your hands together, close your eyes again and feel the pulse that began long before you had a name. This body you wear is not a machine. It is a fossil in motion, a record that breathes, a shape the universe carved from memory, and then let grow. Let your breath be deep now, but gentle. Let it fill the space between your ribs as if you were breathing with every ancestor who ever had lungs. Because in a way you're not a visitor to the past. You are a continuation, and your body remembers what your mind does not. And that, dear dreamer, is more than enough. You're walking now, not fast, not with purpose, just drifting the way you do when your thoughts are soft and your feet follow where silence leads. The street beneath you is paved, smooth in places, cracked in others. There are lamps above, windows glowing. Somewhere, a train sighs in the distance, but beneath this city, beneath the concrete, beneath the roots of trees and wires, something older waits. Let your breath match that depth. Slow, weightless, like a leaf settling through water to rest on the floor of a forgotten well. Because here, just below the soles of your shoes, the past is not buried, it's resting. And sometimes you can feel it breathe. Cities are strange things. They grow up, outward, and over. They layer themselves. New buildings over old ones. New names over old places. New footsteps over ancient echoes. And sometimes, when construction begins, when the ground is peeled back, the past rises up. A broken column, a coin, a forgotten foundation. A trace of someone's life lived long before you ever imagined this street. Let that linger for a moment. You don't have to imagine who they were. Just know that they were here. And somehow, they're still here. Not in the way we think of ghosts, not in the stories whispered at night, but in the shape of the land, in the weight of the stone, in the pause you feel before you step forward and wonder what happened here before I arrived. There's a field of study called urban archaeology, and it reveals what the eye can't see. Beneath modern cities lie forgotten layers, buried roads, collapsed temples, walls that once held silence, now pressed flat by time. Rome has streets beneath its streets. Istanbul holds empires like stacked pages in a book. In Paris, the catacombs wind quietly through what used to be a cemetery's memory. In Cairo, ancient homes sleep beneath the hum of traffic, and even in the newest towns, the ground below remembers. It holds footprints in sediment, ashes in clay, bones folded softly into loam, not vanished, just stilled. You walk through cities as though they belong only to now, but they don't. They carry what came before as gently as a whisper tucked inside a wall. Even the way streets curve, even the angles of buildings may echo footpaths traced by bare feet 1,000 years ago. Let your own steps be part of that rhythm now, even if you are lying still. Imagine your feet moving slowly through layers of time. You're not walking on the past, you are walking with it. Sometimes a city forgets. Buildings are torn down, names are changed, stories are lost in floods or fire or silence. But the ground does not forget. It holds on to things. The heat of a kiln used by hands long turned to dust. The the worn stone of a doorstep crossed by generations of quiet mornings. Even the dust in your apartment may contain the story of centuries reduced to particles. The past doesn't disappear, it settles and waits. There's a term in geology, stratigraphy. It means the reading of layers, soil, rock, ash, ceramic stacked by time like thin sheets of memory. And when scientists dig, they don't just look for artifacts. They listen to the rhythm of layers, each one a pause in the world, a breath, a turning of the page. So the next time you walk a street or sit on a bench or touch a brick wall, know that you are not alone. You're surrounded by quiet witnesses. The past does not knock, it lingers in the coldness of stone, in the curve of a railing, in the way your body pauses for no reason and feels something unspoken. Let yourself rest again. Let your breath move downward, like a tree root sinking into deeper soil. You don't need to remember the names. You don't need to uncover the artifacts. You're already built upon what was, and the past, it isn't gone. It's the ground you walk on, the layers that hold you, the soft echo beneath your heel. There is a moment, hovering right now between breath and stillness, that asks nothing from you. It does not require movement. It does not ask for memory. It doesn't even need your name. It simply is. You're lying here in a room, in a bed, on a planet spinning slowly through a quiet corner of space, and around you, the air has softened. Even time has gone quiet. And in this silence, you begin to wonder what if. This moment could have turned out differently. What if, without you knowing, the universe once stood at a fork and, in choosing this version of the present, left countless others behind? Close your eyes again. If they've wandered open, let your shoulders fall a little deeper into the bed, as if gravity itself is asking you to stay. Just a little longer. You don't need to reach for answers, just listen. As time whispers softly from every path it might have taken. There is a branch of physics that doesn't behave the way we expect. It lives not in galaxies or black holes, but in the tiniest places inside atoms, inside the space between electrons and protons, a world called quantum mechanics. And here, in this realm of the impossibly small, certainty disappears. Particles don't move in straight lines. They flicker, they shimmer, they exist in probabilities. They are not here or there, but here and there, until observed. This is not a metaphor. It is what the equations say. And no matter how many times scientists test it, the uncertainty remains. A photon might go through one slit or another, but until you look, it behaves as if it goes through both. A particle might spin left or right, but until you measure it, it holds both possibilities inside itself, waiting for you to choose without knowing what it means. Let your breath slow. Let your chest rise and fall without decision, without intention. Because here's the wonder in the quantum world. Your not knowing is not a failure. It is part of the design. Uncertainty is not a gap in the map. It is the map. And from that quantum haze, a question rises, one that has haunted physicists and poets alike. What happens to the possibilities we never observe? What happens to the roads we don't take? Some interpretations, like the many worlds theory, suggest that every possible outcome actually happens, that at each moment of quantum decision, the universe splits. One you turned left, one you turned right, one you said yes, one you stayed silent. Countless yous moving in countless directions, each unaware of the others, each living out a version of now. It sounds impossible. And maybe it is, but the math doesn't forbid it. And some scientists believe that every second branches the world into a garden of moments that never truly die. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to picture it. Just feel what it means to live in a moment surrounded by silent companions, versions of you who almost existed and might still in a fold of time you cannot touch. The choices you didn't make, the places you never went, the people you almost became. Are they gone, or are they woven into the quiet texture of your present? There's no way to know, but perhaps that's not the point. Perhaps the past doesn't vanish. It just becomes improbable. A possibility slipping into shadow, still real, still remembered by something beneath the surface. Let yourself relax into that idea. You don't have to grieve every unlived life. You don't have to mourn the things you didn't become. They may still be humming quietly, folded into your cells, like a song you only heard the first note of. The quantum world doesn't care about what is. It cares about what could be. And in that way, you carry every version of yourself just beneath your skin, not to live all of them, but to know you are not a single thread. You are a braid of might-have-beens woven gently into what is. There's something else. Entanglement. A strange phenomenon where two particles become connected in such a way that even across great distances, one reflects the state of the other. They can be light years apart, but the moment you measure one, the other knows. No signal, no delay, instant knowing. Some call it spooky action at a distance, but it might be more beautiful than spooky. It might mean that the universe is not made of separate pieces, but of relationships. That you are not alone, that every part of you is connected to everything else in ways too subtle to see. And maybe the versions of you that never spoke, never cried, never dared still speak, still dream, still echo through the fabric of your becoming. Take another slow breath now. Let it move not only through your chest, but into the spaces between your thoughts. There is no need to decide what's real. You don't have to believe in multiverses or quantum echoes, but you can rest in the comfort that the universe has never been as fixed as it seemed, and the past, your past, may still live in probability, not erased, not undone, just folded, gently, like paper waiting to become a bird if the wind chooses it. And you are here, not the only version, not the only path, but this one, this breath, this skin, this soft now that no other version gets to hold. That, too, is sacred. And the past, it may still exist not behind you, but within you, waiting, not to return, but to remind you that even the roads not taken left footprints in the soil of your soul. You're floating again, not through space, exactly, not through memory, either, but through something slower, something quieter, through possibility, through structure, through a geometry you've been moving through your entire life without ever needing to see it. It's all around you, shaped by the movement of light, the patience of gravity, and the silent unfolding of cause into consequence. This is space-time, and you're not just in it, you're it. Let your breath stretch gently here, as if the air is expanding around you to make space for a new kind of knowing, not the kind you learn, the kind you remember in your bones, when the world finally grows quiet enough to whisper its structure. In the world of relativity, time and space are not separate. They are woven into a single fabric, 4 dimensions, threaded so completely that if you move through one, you must move through the other, and every moment you live has its own position in this fabric. Where you were. when you were, how fast you were moving. You don't have to picture it. Just know this: every second of your life is not floating loosely in time. It has a shape, a placement, and more importantly, it has a direction. Now imagine this. At every point in space-time, every now you've ever experienced, there exists a structure called a light cone. It's not made of glass, not visible, but it's real. It's a map of what can influence you and what you can influence, given that nothing can travel faster than light. Let your thoughts slow here, like falling leaves. There's no rush to grasp this. Just let it drift gently toward you. The light cone has two parts. One reaches backward into everything that could have touched you, every photon that had time to reach you, every particle, every whisper from the past that could still shape your now. This is your past light cone. The other reaches forward into everything your choices might ripple into, every moment your voice might echo toward, every place your light might one day reach. This is your future light cone. Together, they form a shape in space-time, a soft funnel opening forward and back, like a lantern lit in both directions. And you're always standing at the tip of that hourglass, the narrow neck, the only place where everything possible passes through. This moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this now. Let your body feel that alignment. You don't have to move. You're already perfectly placed at the center of influence and memory. Everything behind you that matters has reached you. Everything ahead of you that you can shape is still unfolding, and you quiet, gentle, alive are holding them both. Light cones explain causality. They describe what is possible, what can be changed, what must remain forever unreachable. Because anything outside your light cone, anything too far, too fast, too separated can never touch you. Not even in principle. It is beyond your realm of cause and effect. But inside the cone, everything lives there. Your past footsteps, the starlight that just reached your skin, the dream that changed your morning, the breeze that shook the branch and startled the bird and made you look up just in time to see the sky blush at dawn. Every chain of moments that has ever led you here sits gently in your cone. And the things you will touch, the smiles you haven't offered yet, the breath you'll take 2 seconds from now, the silence that will come after this one, they are waiting in the future cone for your arrival. And now we come to the mystery. Because the past light cone feels complete, a path behind you, a sequence of knowns. But the future cone, it's open, it's soft around the edges, it's uncertain, and yet, in the geometry of space-time, it already exists. Not in the way a stone exists, but as a shape waiting to be filled. Some scientists wonder, do all events inside the cone already exist in some eternal now? Are we simply moving through a predetermined structure? Or is the cone itself shaped by our movement? Do we carve the future as we live it? There is no answer yet, only the hush of possibility. Let your breath move like a ripple now, not fast, not heavy, just soft, like light stretching across fabric older than time. You don't need to know whether the future is written. You are already within it, already turning the next page with the rhythm of your own breath. And you don't need to return to the past. Its light has already reached you. You are made of it. You are lit by it. And whatever could shape you already has. This moment, this present, is not small. It is the tip of something vast, It's where all your yesterdays arrive, and all your tomorrows begin. And even though the universe is expanding, even though galaxies race apart faster than the speed of comprehension, your light cone is always growing. Your reach is always extending. Even while you sleep, even while you rest, even while you do nothing at all, the shape of you continues. So lie still now. Let the future come to you. Let the past rest gently behind you. You don't need to reach. You don't need to run. You are already exactly where you need to be, at the tender point where what has been meets what will be. And even if you don't remember this moment tomorrow, even if it fades like a dream at dawn, its shape will remain in the folds of your light cone, part of the geometry of you. You're drifting again, not backward, not forward, just outward, as if your breath were a soft current carrying you through invisible threads you didn't know were there. It's quiet here, not empty, but woven. Something hums in the background, not a sound, exactly. More like a feeling, like memory turned into vibration. You may not see the threads, but you are floating among them, tangled, connected, held. Close your eyes again, if they've wandered open. Let your body relax, as if gravity is no longer pulling in just one direction, but in many, softly, all at once. Because in this space, the quantum space, what's separate might not be so separate at all. There's something in quantum physics that's almost too strange to believe. It's called entanglement. It means that two particles, once connected, can remain connected even when they are far apart. Measure one, and the other responds instantly, as if no distance lies between them. It doesn't matter if they're a meter apart or a million light years. Entangled particles do not forget one another. They carry each other's state. They reflect each other's truth, even after separation. Let your breath follow that idea now. Let it move not through space, but through connection. You don't need to see the lines, just feel them. Some call it spooky action at a distance. Einstein himself said that. He couldn't accept it at first, because it challenges our sense of the world, our sense of independence, of cause and effect, of time. But the phenomenon is real. It's been proven, tested, measured. Entangled particles defy isolation. They remain in silent conversation long after they've parted, and that conversation, if you could hear it, might sound like the softest echo of remembering. Now think of all the things you've ever touched, not with your hands, but with your presence, with your voice, with your attention, people, places, moments. Do you believe they're gone once you leave them? Or do you sometimes feel a strange pull, a memory that stirs without warning, a face you haven't seen in years rising into your thoughts as if summoned by something beneath thought? Perhaps this is imagination. Perhaps it is coincidence. Or perhaps you are still entangled. You don't have to understand the quantum mechanics. You don't have to know the math. But let this image settle beside you. Two particles created in a single event. They move apart. They never see each other again, but they are still part of the same moment. And if you measure one, you learn something about the other, instantly, without asking, without delay. The connection is deeper than space, deeper than time. It is relationship without proximity. Some scientists wonder, is this a fundamental property of the universe? Are we all entangled in ways too subtle to measure? What if the past doesn't vanish? It just becomes a part of the thread. What if the people you've loved, the moments that shaped you, the joys that passed through you and moved on. What if they are still here, entangled in you, not haunting you, not burdening you, just existing quietly beneath your surface, ready to stir at the smallest observation, a smell, a note in a song, a softness in someone's voice, the past still echoing through the bonds it made. Let your breath soften. Let your chest feel warm. You're not chasing ghosts. You're holding connections that never truly left. You don't have to return to those moments. They've already written themselves into your fabric. They are not separate from you. They are what shaped the pattern you now carry, and they don't ask for anything. They don't need to be relived. They simply are, quietly, gently, waiting to be remembered without needing to be reclaimed. Entanglement isn't magic. It's not memory in the way we know it, but it offers a kind of metaphor that feels too close to ignore. Because how many times have you felt someone else's presence without them being there? How many times has the dream brought back a conversation you forgot you missed? How many times has a stranger reminded you of someone you used to be? It doesn't mean the past is calling you back. It means the past never fully let you go. And maybe that's okay. There is something profoundly beautiful about a universe that doesn't erase its relationships. That allows two things to stay linked across the void. That suggests you are never fully alone, that a part of you may still live in the thoughts of another, in the memory of a place, in the path of a star. Let yourself relax into that now. You are not floating away. You are floating within the net of a universe that doesn't forget what once touched. You don't need to trace the thread back. You don't need to find the beginning. Entanglement doesn't ask for direction. It just is. And tonight, as you drift toward the silence between one thought and the next, know that you are held by bonds that do not need to be visible, by memories that do not fade with time, by a universe that remembers everything it has ever become, including you. You're still here, still quiet, still drifting in that slow, sacred rhythm where thought no longer runs but floats. And now, the edges of you begin to blur, as if the shape of your body is dissolving gently into something wider. You're no longer just lungs and breath. You're something older, older than language, older than memory, older than Earth itself, because somewhere in your blood, your skin, your bones, there is a history written in atoms, and those atoms did not begin with you. Let yourself grow heavier now. Heavier not with burden, but with the beautiful truth that your body was not built from nothing. It was built from stars. It sounds like poetry, but it's physics. Every atom in your body, every carbon, every oxygen, every calcium, every iron was forged in the heat of stellar fire. Not here, not recently, but long ago, when the universe was still young enough to burn without resting. The light elements, hydrogen and helium, came from the Big Bang itself, but everything heavier that had to be cooked inside the cores of stars, where gravity squeezes atoms into one another with a force so patient it can take billions of years to build something new. That's where carbon was made, the carbon in your chest, the carbon in your thoughts. That's where oxygen came from, the oxygen you're breathing now, and the oxygen your ancestors breathed in caves, in fields, in cities long buried, and the iron in your blood that came from the death of stars. When a large star reaches the end of its life, it collapses in on itself. Its core crushes, its layers fall, and then it explodes. A supernova, one of the most powerful events the universe can offer. In that brief, burning instant, Atoms are flung outward, atoms the star could no longer hold, and those atoms scatter, drift, cool. Some become part of new stars, some fall into empty space, and some fall into clouds that one day become planets. Planets like this one, worlds with oceans and trees, and creatures who build stories out of breath and language. Worlds where someone like you might one day lie quietly, as you are now, and wonder, where did I come from? You came from that, from the supernovae that lit the void long before Earth had a name. You are built from borrowed light. The past isn't just behind you, it is you. You are the memory of stellar fire, written in skin. You are the echo of collisions that happened billions of years ago, and you've been carrying that ancientness without knowing, until now. Let your breath grow slower. Let your bones feel heavy with stardust. You don't have to do anything with this knowing. You don't have to hold it tightly. Just rest in it. You're not small. You're not separate. You're a collection of ancient matter given shape by chance and time and quiet assembly. And still, you are unique. No other arrangement of atoms has ever existed like this one. Like you. Even now, as you breathe, you're exchanging atoms with the world. You inhale a molecule that may have once moved through a dinosaur's lungs, a mountain's spring, a stranger's laughter in another century. You exhale and give that molecule away, to the air, to the soil, to the trees outside your window. You are part of the cycle of stardust, a rhythm so wide no calendar can hold it. Some atoms leave you, some remain, some have been part of you since before your birth, and all of them carry memory in the simplest way possible. They continue. We often think of memory as something the brain holds, but the universe remembers without thought. It remembers by persisting, by allowing atoms to endure, by folding yesterday into the shape of now. You're not outside that memory. You are made of it. The past did not pass you by. It became you. Sometimes you may feel lost, small, as though your life is just a flicker in something too vast to understand. But tonight, you can let that thought dissolve, because what you are did not begin here, and it will not end here. Your atoms are ancient, your structure is new, and your presence, this soft moment of stillness, is a continuation of something that has never stopped unfolding. Take one more breath now. Let it feel older than your lungs. Let it feel like it belongs to more than just you. You're not just in the universe, you're of it. Not separate, not recent, not temporary, but elemental. And the stars, the ones you watched as a child, the ones long gone, the ones that still burn in distant galaxies, they are not just above you. They are within you. They are your past, and they still shine. The room you lie in is still like snow after it's settled, still like pages of a book that no one's touched in years. But it isn't empty, and it certainly isn't forgotten. The air around you has shape, it has weight, and more curiously it has memory, not the kind that tells stories, not the kind that recalls names, but the kind that remembers change, the kind that can tell what has already happened, even when no one's left to say it. Take a breath, let it fall deeper into you. Let your chest move not just with air, but with the quiet truth that every space holds a past you cannot see, but still feel. There's a principle that governs much of our universe. It's called entropy. It's often described as the measure of disorder, but it's deeper than that. Entropy is the way time reveals itself in systems that forget how to be precise. Imagine a room, tidy, ordered, untouched. And then people enter, they move, they speak, they touch things. The room changes, and when they leave, even if they tidy up, the room is not the same. The molecules in the air have been shifted. The heat from their bodies still lingers on the fabric of the chair. The dust in the corners has been stirred. You wouldn't notice unless you looked closely, but the room remembers, not clearly, not intentionally, but thermodynamically. Entropy increases with time. That's why an ice cube melts, but never unmelts. Why cream swirls into coffee, but doesn't swirl back out. It's not that the universe is lazy. It's that the universe remembers movement, and it resists returning to how things were, even when no one is watching. Let your breath follow that now. Let it melt, like sugar in tea. No rush, no resistance. Just a quiet unfolding of what already is. This is why you can tell the difference between past and future, because entropy gives time its direction. Without it, you wouldn't know which moment came first. You wouldn't know if the glass shattered or reassembled. But because entropy increases, you can feel the arrow. You can feel that today comes after yesterday, and that the warmth in your blanket must have come from your body. And though entropy is often called the fading of order, that word fading makes it sound like forgetting. But it's not forgetting. It's remembering through change. The way a photograph fades in sunlight not because it disappears, but because the light carried too much memory and pressed itself too deep. Sometimes people say the past is gone. But if entropy exists, that can't be entirely true. The past may not be recoverable, but its fingerprints are everywhere. In the temperature of your tea, in the creak of a wooden floor where someone stood just a second ago, in the pattern of dust on a shelf left behind by a book that once lived there. Entropy tells you that something happened, and the universe, in its strange, quiet way, refuses to erase the evidence. You don't need to see all the details. You don't need to solve equations. Just know that the present is not a clean slate. It is layered, pressed with the weight of before, etched with the faint lines of what has passed, like a palimpsest, a parchment written over but never quite scrubbed clean. If you look closely, you can still see the earlier words beneath the new ones. That's what the present moment is. Not pure, not singular, but rewritten, and always underneath, the ghost of what came first. Let your thoughts quiet here. Let the idea sit in you like a stone resting at the bottom of a stream, not resisting the current, not moved by it, just settled, because even the smallest things carry this memory of time. The universe doesn't rewind. It doesn't scrub the slate. It rearranges. The stars that burned became the elements. The elements became you. The breath you exhale warms the room and shifts the air molecules. You are part of this gentle resistance to forgetting. There's something beautiful in a universe that doesn't erase, in a universe where every second leaves a trace, not as a burden, but as a texture. And you are textured too, not smoothed down by time, but enriched, layered, shaped. Even if you feel empty some days, even if you wonder if any of it mattered, the universe says yes, because nothing is lost, only changed. There are scientists who dream of reversing entropy, who imagine time running backward. It works, in theory. In some equations, the laws of physics are perfectly symmetrical. They don't prefer forward or back, but the universe does. Not because it can't go backward, but because it chooses to go forward through memory. Because it carries the heat of every moment that passed. and that heat, however faint, shapes what comes next. So as you lie here now, in this quiet room, in the hush that holds the hush before it, know that this stillness is not absence. It is full of things that were, a fingerprint of warmth on your pillow, the weight of your breath on the air, the soft echo of every thought that passed through before this one. The universe is not forgetting you. It is remembering by rearranging. It is turning you into the next version of something that has always been unfolding. Let your breath fall now, like ash, like time, like the softest memory settling where no wind stirs. There's nothing left to hold on to, and nothing truly leaves. Not the day, not the past, not you. You're not vanishing. You're continuing in warmth, in stillness, in the soft reluctance of time to ever truly forget. The world around you is still now. The lights have softened. The noise has faded. Even your thoughts have taken their shoes off, as if they know you are about to enter a sacred room. But this room isn't outside of you. It's within, folded gently inside your mind, like a diary tucked into a drawer you haven't opened in years. You're about to walk through your own memory, not as a tourist, not as a narrator, but as a quiet guest. And the house you're about to enter has a name, the hippocampus. Let your breath fall gently here. You don't need to recall anything. You don't need to search. Just know that memory remembers you, even when you've forgotten it, and it waits quietly behind every closed door in your mind. The hippocampus is a seahorse-shaped structure deep within your brain. 2 of them, actually one on each side, but their shape is less important than their role. They are the architects of memory, the weavers, the librarians who decide what gets placed on the shelves and what fades into the texture of days. When something happens, a face, a scent, a moment of emotion, the hippocampus helps encode it. It doesn't store the memory itself. It connects the pieces. It places the index card in the right drawer so that one day, when you walk past that same perfume or hear that same piano chord, the drawer quietly opens, and suddenly you're there again. You don't need to try. The brain is always sorting, always writing. Even now, as you lie in stillness, it is tagging the edges of this moment with invisible threads. You might not remember this night in full, but a part of you will. The air, the hush, the feeling of being gently held by something you didn't have to name. Let that awareness settle into your breath, not heavy but gentle, not exact but deeply familiar. Because memory is not made of facts, it's made of place. And in your hippocampus, you carry places you can no longer visit with your body, but still return to with your mind. Scientists have studied what happens when the hippocampus is damaged. People lose the ability to form new memories. Events slip through them like water through open fingers. But memories from long ago often remain intact, as if time presses the past deeper into the brain's soil until it becomes part of the landscape. And the most beautiful truth, even in sleep, the hippocampus is active, reviewing, replaying, reinforcing, like a gardener walking the same paths at night, checking on roots, tending to vines of memory that grew in daylight and must now be gently braided into long-term bloom. When you dream, you sometimes walk familiar corridors that do not exist. You visit houses you've never entered. You talk with people who are both known and unknown, and when you wake, you think, where did that come from? But perhaps it was your hippocampus weaving a place from fragments, from real rooms, real emotions, real pieces of your personal universe that never left you, even if you didn't invite them back. And perhaps dreams are simply memory speaking in metaphor because literal language would be too small. You don't have to make sense of it. Memory is not a photograph, it's not a timeline, it's a house, and each time you walk its halls, the floorboards shift, the wallpaper fades, new doors appear where none were before. This is not a flaw, it's how memory protects you. It rewrites pain, it softens the light, it blends the sharp lines until what remains can be held without hurting. And in this way, the past does not vanish. It becomes livable. There is a phenomenon called memory reconsolidation. It means that each time you recall something, your brain revisits the wiring and decides whether to keep it the same or to change it. In remembering, you're always rewriting. You're the author and the editor of your own inner library, not to deceive, but to survive, to grow, to carry forward only what you can hold without breaking. Let that truth settle into your chest now, not as worry, but as permission. You don't have to remember everything, and what you do remember, it's allowed to change. Take a breath. Let your breath be part of the architecture. Let it move through the halls of your mind like wind through an open window. Somewhere, behind a locked door, a memory you haven't seen in decades may be sitting quietly, folding itself into softness, waiting, not to be found, but to be felt. And even if you never open that door again, the memory does not mind. It is enough that it existed. You're not losing time, you are becoming it. And the hippocampus, those little seahorses in your brain, are not just filing away images, they are making a map of your being, where you've been, who you've loved, what made you. It's all there, folded into you. Written not in ink, but in electricity. Not on paper, but on pathways that shimmer every time you close your eyes and feel something stir that has no name. Let yourself feel that now. You don't need to hold on to the past. It is holding you. And the brain so small, so quiet in the dark is still lighting tiny lanterns in the rooms of your memory. Not to call you back, but to remind you you've lived, and that will always be enough. You're lying still now, more still than before, not from tiredness, but from a kind of gentle fullness, as if something long restless inside you has curled up quietly at last. The room has not changed, and yet it has. Your breathing has softened it, your stillness has slowed it, and the air itself seems to hum with something more than silence. Time has moved. Yes, moments have passed, but you haven't missed anything, because even now, everything that was has come with you. It didn't vanish. It didn't close its eyes and slip away. It folded itself gently into the seams of this exact moment. And here, in this breath, you carry all of it. Every yesterday sleeps in the folds of now. Time is not a straight thread. It is a quilt, layered, textured, hand-stitched with the softness of memory, the warmth of presence, and the careful mending of moments you once thought were lost. Your body knows this, your breath knows it too. Even your dreams, scattered as they are, remember what it means to move forward with a past still stitched into the lining. Let your breath drift now. Let your body settle. You don't need to hold on to anything. Nothing is slipping away. Everything that shaped you has already become part of you. And the things you let go of, they're not gone. They've simply laid down to rest. There is no edge to the past, no place where it ends and the present begins. They blur, They bleed into each other. They hum the same song in different keys, and the you who is lying here now is not alone. You are made of echoes, echoes of laughter that once lit up your chest, echoes of soft sorrow that made you more tender, echoes of people whose voices still live in the quiet corners of your thought, not to haunt, but to accompany, and all of them rest with you tonight, not behind you, within you. There's no need to explain this, no need to find meaning. Sometimes existence is enough. The warmth of the blanket, the breath between your lips, the stillness that doesn't demand a story. This, too, is memory. This, too, is the past becoming peace. Final wind down, soft closure, 742 words. And now, gentle dreamer, you've come to the edge of this long, quiet journey. Not the edge like a cliff, but the edge like the hem of a robe, soft, folded, wrapped gently around your thoughts to keep them warm while the night unfolds. You've wandered far tonight, not across landscapes or oceans, but through something even wider, the inner terrain of time, woven with questions and hushes and light. And even though you haven't moved, you've travelled into atoms born in stars, into moments suspended in photons, into footprints left in forests long since swallowed by trees. You've listened to how memory hides in dust. You've breathed with shadows made by mirrors. You've traced the silent wake of particles that once knew one another and never let go. And all of it, every fragment, every sigh, every flicker of what once was has found its way into this single moment, here, now. You may not remember it all. That's okay. The hippocampus will dream its dream. The neurons will do their work. The breath will rise and fall without you needing to ask. You don't have to carry every word. You don't have to hold on to anything, because the past does not require your attention to exist. It continues in the way tea leaves shape water, in the way warmth lingers in sheets after someone has risen, in the way you turn your head just slightly when a name you haven't heard in years drifts across your memory like a feather you're not sure is real. The past doesn't vanish, it settles, and you in this moment are the soft bed it has chosen to settle into. So let yourself sink now, not into thought, not into worry, but into rest. Let your eyelids fall like curtains at the end of a gentle play. Let your breath grow slower than the tick of any clock. Let your body feel like the quiet dust beneath a sunbeam in a room no one has entered in years. Because right now, you're not needed anywhere else. You're not expected to fix anything, to know anything, to explain. You're simply here, and that is enough. There is nothing left to remember, nothing left to chase. Time is no longer passing. It is curled beside you, sleeping, dreaming, becoming, and you are safe. You are loved. You are the unfolding of everything that came before, and everything that might still come woven into a single, sacred hush. So close your eyes, let go. Let yourself be carried into the gentle river of sleep, where memory is not lost, only softened, where the past does not call you back, but rocks you forward, into silence, into stillness, into the quiet warmth that waits on the other side of all knowing.